Um, how did you guys come out of the game injury wise on Saturday?
Yeah, wise, we're okay. No new injuries. The only one not in rehab at the moment is obviously Nathan Byrne. Um, Suleiman Dumby is running now, so he's back in rehab. We've got Forbesy, Brandon Cambridge in rehab. Pep Biel is in rehab. So I'm hopeful that he's going to be fit for Saturday. I won't risk him for tomorrow.
In terms of when it comes down to rotation, I know it seemed like you stayed away from a couple of guys like Williamson and others like Tavares. How do you go about maybe looking at this match on Tuesday in terms of a chance to look at some guys, but also balancing, obviously wanting to go for it?
Well, we want to go for it. We want to go and win the game. So I'll pick a team that I believe can go and win the game. If it means having to manage the squad because of the amount of games that we've got coming up, but also getting some players, game time, then we will certainly do that.
How would you assess your level of concern about where you are defensively? Just because I know you've always said you want to be tough to beat, but there have been some leaks over the course of the last couple of contests.
I just think the last game, really. I mean, we conceded 4 goals and 4 poor goals that was unlike us. The reason we got beat on Saturday was simply because, and having reviewed it, I don't think any player got over a 6 out of 10, with the exception of Brands. And if you don't get players over 6 out of 10, you're not going to win football games. So too many unforced errors, but that's been a rarity from us. So I certainly don't expect that again.
I know you said Brant did well in his role, and I agree with you, but do you feel like you were missing something from what he usually does? Like it's one thing to put him in the 10 role, but do you feel like you're missing what he does sitting next to Westy when he's not able to do that necessarily, and he's more higher on the pitch?
No, no. I mean, listen, he's a good. As I said before the game, I think he's one of the best spoilers in the league. He doesn't stop running. He gets in people's faces. He breaks play up, and he does that really well, whether he's playing in the 10 or the 6. But we've got enough bodies around him who should be able to do that as well. And it wasn't the fact that we weren't getting around their faces. It was the fact that we kept turning the ball over. There's a couple of really poor big touches, some big mistakes from players that don't normally. You look at their big chance. I think Ashley Westwood gets caught on the ball, which is a, a rarity. Kalina, his mistake is a rarity. So they're not mistakes that happen very often. So, if there was a trend, then I'd be worried, but I don't think there's much of a trend.
I do want to ask you about one player specifically in the midfield, Nicola. I know that he's been injury riddled, but I know that he's somebody who you guys have rated and looked at very, very closely. Is he someone who you feel like would be available for tomorrow?
He'll certainly be in the squad, whether he's available to start or not, because he's only started training the last week or 10 days. And because of numbers, he probably got fast tracked into the squad earlier than he probably would have. But he'll be available to probably come off the bench, I would have thought.
I know that you usually focus on yourselves as most of the opposition, but where can North Carolina FC hurt you?
We played them pre-season, so that was a good sight of getting to see the surroundings that we're going into. We'll watch some video of them today, have a look what they're about. I don't think they'll have changed their shape too much, or the reports I've had have said they haven't changed their shape too much from what they played in pre-season as well. So we'll look at some video of what they've been doing in the last few games, and give them the respect they deserve.
All for me now. Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Go ahead, Carol.
I know Steve wants to ask about Melanda, so should we follow up on that from Saturday, Steve? Dean, I guess he won't be available tomorrow, is that right?
Yeah, no, he's not available. He got 2 yellow cards in 2019, I think, so he's not available for the game. I don't understand that rule, but
Um, I guess are there some players that you'd like to give some minutes here? I mean, even a guy like Bingham, some people who really need to get some time on the field.
there's a number of players that need to get some pitch time, as I've always probably complained about that we don't get enough chances to play to get games for players who haven't been playing regular minutes. But you've got to balance that with being really competitive and taking control of the tie and winning the game. So that's what we'll look at. Making sure that we put a team out that can go and win.
Are you tempted to give Westy some time off?
I mean, Westy's never wanting time off, to be honest. So I'll see how he feels today. I mean, it's match day +2 today. I'll see how they all train and decide on the squad who travels then.
And Eric Williamson is a guy I think hasn't seen a lot of minutes yet. Maybe has taken some adjusting. What are you seeing from him?
Yeah, he's been better when he's been coming on the pitch as a sub. I think the New England game was probably a little bit tougher for him, but the two previous games to that, I thought he made a real difference when he came on. And he's getting better all the time. So, he's understanding what we're after now. Some of the players in the team have been playing better than him, in my opinion, at the moment. So, he's got to, I see him as a more of an 8-10, and obviously Pep Biel with his form at the moment, it's been really hard to get in front of him.
Mhm. And finally, for me, just Marshall Ruddy, your impressions after watching the film and what you'd like to see from him now.
I'm looking forward to working with him. As I say, he's a really bright prospect for us. To go and get a player as young as him with as many games as he's got. I love his enthusiasm. Technically, he's really sound as well, and yeah, we're we're quite happy to have him, especially the injuries that we've had to Dumbia and Nathan Byrne at fullbacks. Hasn't helped. We've had to play Tim a lot more at left back where we probably wouldn't want to do that. But you have to deal with them injuries.
That's right. Thanks, Dean. I think you're going to see a lot of us the next couple weeks. I'll go ahead and apologize right now.
No worries, Carol.
All right, have a good one.
All right, Steve.
Top of the morning to you, Dean.
Top of the morning.
This will be your first time coaching in the American version of the FA Cup. What is special? These are the romantic questions about what makes a national championship like this special.
I think the fact that we're going to play a different team from a different league. It's not just an interleague play. There's teams that can try and be strong with home advantage. And the first game I saw in this was my son actually played against Charlotte. Well, no, he was injured for the game, but he was at Greenville at the time, and they played Charlotte, and I think they took them to extra time in the end. And
they did.
So there's that excitement where supporters of lesser fancied teams, if we want to call them that, and that's not being disrespectful. They have the opportunity to knock a bigger team out, and that's what will happen tomorrow. They've got that opportunity, but we have to make sure there's no complacency from us.
This is more so in England, where there's a greater disparity. You have a greater history, 100 years for some teams, and when a big club goes to a smaller thing, and the Wake Med Park is a nice little soccer stadium, not a lot of difference from Matthews, but do you find it also is a humbling experience for the top flight players to go down and experience, maybe where some have been and maybe some haven't?
No, I think they're looking forward to it. They should be humble anyway as our players, because that's what we want from our squad. But I mean, looking at some of the videos I've watched already of their games, the pitch looks fantastic. So we're going to a good pitch to play on. Same dimensions as what ours will be. So that doesn't change, and I'm sure we'll have some good support there as well. So we're looking forward to it, and it'll be a hotly contested game, and one we're excited for.
What's your favorite cup memory from your experience?
I think actually getting to the Carabao Cup final with Villa, we beat Leicester over 2 legs. We scored a last minute goal. Trezeguet scored. Last minute goals are always exciting because that's pretty much it, and you're off to Wembley to go and play. Unfortunately, it was Man City on the day who managed to put Kevin De Bruyne on as a sub for the last 20 minutes.
What year was that?
That was 2020, I think.
Okay. And this one's a little different now. If you could win the MLS Cup and then not win in the first 11 games of your following season, would you make that trade?
If I could win the MLS Cup,
If you won the MLS Cup this year, as LA did last year, and then not win in your first 11 matches of the following season, would you make that trade?
yeah, because you're winning the MLS Cup, which is, but I think after 3 games, my head would be it'd be boiling. So I don't know whether I'd get to the 11 games because my head would be too frazzled by then, I think.
Is it one of the crazier things that you've seen, just going from
Well,
the top to
I
the
think
bottom?
from what I've been told, that'll be a trivia question now, won't it? From now, which team won without actually having a shot on goal? Um,
Last night, yeah.
Last night, Sporting Kansas City won the game without having a shot on goal.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thanks, and good luck on Tuesday.
Cheers, thank you.
We'll go to Bridget and then wrap up with Willie P.
Hi, Dean. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thanks, Bridget. Yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you, sir. I just had a question about Micah Thomas. What's his progress like, and should we see him playing maybe tomorrow night?
No, Mike is with the Legacy at the moment, so he's working hard with them and Gary. He's got some work in terms of where we want him to get to and some goals that he needs to get to. So he won't be in the squad tomorrow, but he's actually developing really well, and we're hoping that he's going to be pushing towards the end of the season.
And one last thing, can we see Tiger Smalls a little bit more tomorrow on the pitch?
You'll certainly see him doing his warm up. Whether he'll be starting or not, I'm not sure yet because I haven't named the team yet. I think he's just paused.
Oh, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wrap up with Willie P before we bring in Andrew.
I did want to follow up on, I know you answered it after the game, but just after further review, is the two striker thing with Edon and Patrick, is that more of a break glass in case of emergency thing, or do you feel like that maybe open the window for something you want to lab test more at a later date?
No, I think it's something that we can use. When we don't get it. I mean, I always think games can be won or lost in midfield if you get control of the middle of the park. And we try to outnumber opposition with a 3v2 in there. Columbus in how they play, they try to make a 4v3 by having two tens and two sixes. So it became a little bit of chess. So I then wanted to take, one of our midfielders out and just go with the two up top and keep the three at home. And I felt it worked to a certain extent. We just didn't use the ball as well as we could have. I thought when we got in the final third, we never used their high line to our advantage, and that's probably what let us down. But it's something we will certainly look at in a game-to-game situation.
That's all for me.
Brilliant.